G'day folks, Bobby here, aka TheNoobKarter, and high helmet karting. Today we're going to be looking at getting prepared for a karting event. In my last video, my wife said my eyes looked a little bit scary. I used too much of a dad voice, like telling you off kind of thing. So I'll try not to use my dad voice too much this time, and I'll try not to be too scary with my eyes. Is that okay? Is that okay? Are you listening? Is that okay? Alright, good. So preparing for a karting session, this is how I prepare, and a little bit of research that I've done. First race for the year for me is coming up next week. I'm really excited to get into it, and this is how I've been preparing for it. Hopefully you guys can get some tips and tricks and that sort of thing out of it as well. So here we go. I'm going to break this video down into a couple of different bits. Fitness leading up to the race, fitness the day of and the week before the race, and then also a little bit about diet and the week leading up to the race, and then the race day as well. So first part is fitness leading up to the event. If you've got a bit of time to prepare for the event, say you're in the off season at the moment, or you've got a few weeks coming up to it, there are some definite things you can do to help you out in your karting race. One thing you want to work on is cardio or aerobic fitness. That essentially is your ability to be active for a prolonged period of time without becoming fatigued. So it is movements that use blood flow and oxygen in the body to feed your muscles and remove the waste in them. So aerobic exercises are things like jogging, cycling, swimming, hiking, anything that raises your heart rate to a certain level but doesn't take everything out of you all in one quick burst. It's a prolonged exercise. So increasing your aerobic fitness should decrease the fatigue you feel during the race day or during the event day. It should improve your recovery in between races and also mean you're not so fatigued within the race itself. Some of my favorite aerobic movements to do is rowing and boxing. I feel for rowing especially, you're doing a very similar movement as you're doing in karting. You've got your hands up, you've got your shoulders up, you're sitting down, using your arms, you're using your legs, and that's the movement. So I feel that's a really good one, and that's something I've been doing. The other thing I've been doing is boxing. Arms are up, shoulders are up. When you're throwing, your shoulders are always moving. You're mixing between aerobic and anaerobic. So you're mixing between sort of moving around a lot and sort of keeping the body moving, and then short bursts of lots of movements. That's why I feel like a heavy bag session or something like that, and boxing is a great thing to do to help with your fitness. Aerobic fitness can increase the efficiency of your heart and your body's ability to get blood and fuel and nutrients to your muscles during some sort of activity, and also remove the waste from those muscles so you don't feel the burn as much and that sort of thing. You don't feel the lactic acid building up as quickly. Now, going along with the lactic acid, that brings me to anaerobic fitness. Anaerobic fitness is the fitness that you have for fast movements, powerful movements. Think weightlifting, sprinting, boxing again. Like I said, the short, quick movements of boxing, good example of that as well. I'm really trying not to do the scary eyes again. I hope I'm not. So what happens in anaerobic fitness? Like I said, the body doesn't have time to get oxygen to the muscles with the nutrients and the fuel that it needs to operate or to complete the movements. So what it uses instead is glucose that is stored in the muscles. Once glucose is used as a fuel for the muscles, the waste of that is lactic acid. And then you get a buildup of lactic acid in your muscles. And you get that soreness and the pain, the burning that you feel when you're doing an intense activity and you feel that lactic acid build up. So what you're doing when you're trying to increase your anaerobic fitness is to increase the threshold before that lactic acid starts to build up. Things like interval training and high intensity workouts where you're doing 30 seconds on, 10 seconds off type stuff, the Tabata style stuff. Like I said before, sprinting and like really fast cycling and boxing, weightlifting, that sort of thing, where the movement doesn't have time to get the oxygen, so that burns the glucose and it builds up that lactic acid. But like I said, you're trying to increase the threshold before that lactic acid builds up enough you start to burn, your muscles start to burn. So karting, quick movements, there's sections where you've got to do a lot of quick movements and reactions to things. So your arms can start to feel tired and the lactic acid builds up in your forearms and your arms and your hands. And so you're trying to increase your body's ability to deal with that lactic acid. Now movements can be both aerobic and anaerobic. For the rowing and the boxing, for instance, like you can go rowing at a certain pace and then right at the end of the row, right at the end of the session, increase the pace a lot, increase your output, and then you'll start to get that lactic acid build up and build up that, increase that threshold. Boxing, again, the lots of movements and then the short bursts of combos, ducks and weaves and slides and that sort of thing, where you're doing intense movements for a short period of time and then backing off and then moving. So boxing is great for that. Weightlifting is something I use. I do things like deadlifts and squats and bent over rows, or dumbbell rows, sorry, in my preparation as well. So a normal week for me is a mix of aerobic and anaerobic exercises. So I try to do activities about 5 days a week. And that is usually about 3 sessions of weights and anaerobics. And a core session, I do a high intensity or an interval training style core session where I do things like crunches and planks, and like Russian sit-ups. We've got the thing, and weighted sit-ups. We've got like a medicine ball, and you do a sit-up and hit the ball between your legs and either side and then back down and then repeat the movement. I might show a clip of that. I don't know if I get time to, but we'll see. So it's a mix, and then in between that I will do rowing sessions and boxing sessions. And I try to, especially for the rowing, I try to do it, because I do sprint racing mostly in my karting, I try to do it for the same amount of time that I'm in the cart at a pretty quick pace, and then right at the last sort of minute I'll increase that pace a lot and try to get that anaerobic fitness increased as well. Boxing, I follow a routine, I follow a set of instructions, I guess, for that, and that's about 4 or 5 rounds of 3-minute rounds and then a 1-minute break in between, and then the intensity builds up in each round. Actually, I think it might be 5 rounds that I end up doing, and the intensity builds up until the last round. It's the most intense, and it's like a real fight in terms of the amount of output that you're doing. You're ducking, you're weaving, you're throwing combos, you're backing off, and then you're coming back in and throwing more combos, that sort of thing. So really trying to push my thresholds in my body. But in the week leading up, I stopped doing all the anaerobic ones and just focused on some cardio, even without the big finish at the end where I push even harder. I just do some cardio over an extended period of time. And then probably about the last 3 or 4 days before the event, I cut out that as well and just do some walks during my lunch break. The day before, for this particular race, I'm going to be doing some karting just to blow out the cobwebs, because I haven't done some karting for a little bit. So I'll just go to a karting academy. And then the day of, I'll just do some stretches or something like that before the actual event or before the actual race. And that's all the other activity I'll do on that day other than the race itself. Now, if we're talking about diet, I'm not going to talk about diet in a general sense. I mean, eat a healthy, balanced diet. You're an adult. I'm not going to tell you how to eat. For the week leading up to, probably about 3 days before the event, I'm going to start carb loading this time. I didn't do it last time. I'm going to try it this time and see how it goes. So carb loading, it depends on what type of race you're doing. I'm doing sprint races, so I'm only going to try and increase my carbs by about 50%. If you're doing a more endurance race, you really want to build up that glucose store a bit more. So that might be like in doubling the amount of carbs that you're getting. But for me, I'm increasing it from about 200 to about 320 grams a day. What that's going to do is build up the glucose stores in my muscles, and so it can be used as fuel. And then with the higher thresholds, without the lactic acid really building up, I should be able to sustain a higher intensity than I would if I wasn't carb loading and I hadn't done the exercise. So that's essentially the goal, is to be able to sustain a higher intensity of movements and activity without getting as fatigued, and then having a good recovery in between those races. What I'm going to be doing to accommodate those carbs is reducing the protein, reducing the fats that I take into those 3 days. And then the day before the event, I'll cut out the carb loading and just eat normally. for that day, and then the day of the event I'm going to have a carby style breakfast, so toast with honey on it, or maybe avocado on it, some yogurt, some juice, and that's probably about it. At the event I'll be taking a banana and a muesli bar. They're my favourite sort of snacks to have in between the races, and I do that at work as well. I love muesli bars and bananas at work, so I use them for my snacks at work too. Lots of water, definitely lots of water on the day, but not just that. The whole time you're carb loading, lots of water as well, because hydration doesn't begin on the day. It begins a couple of days before. You've got to have lots of water in your system. So as you're carb loading, or as I'm carb loading, I'm going to be drinking more water than I would normally to have a lot of water in my system on the day. And that's basically the preparation I'm going to be doing for this coming up one. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, there'll be videos of the races, because that's one thing I really want to do. Again, I haven't done that for a little while, so really want to get some footage of the races. I'll probably talk about how my carb loading and how my preparation went, and see if it has helped me. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Look, if you've enjoyed this video, if you're enjoying these content, please like and subscribe. Really help me out, make me be seen by more people, you know. Yeah, cool. If you like the shirt, let me know. It was done by an acquaintance of mine. I'll put his link down in the description to his Instagram. Check him out. He does some cool stuff. And if you like the shirt, who knows, maybe something we could sell. I think it's cool. I got 2 of them. I might get more, who knows. My son's awake. Cool. Filming this at night, he's meant to be sleeping. So that's, I guess, me signing off then. Have a good night.